My name is Alex Whittlesey, and I am the Director of Finance and Accounting for Serendipity Labs.
Perfect. And Alex, if you don't mind, can you give me a nice big smile and hold it for about 5 seconds? Great. All right. Alex, I got a knock-knock joke. I have little daughters. I don't know. Do you have any kids?
Yeah, I have two.
Two?
Yes, I have 2 boys, 3 and 5.
All right.
Yeah.
Knock-knock.
Who's there?
Europe.
Europe who?
No, Europe who?
Nice.
Great. All right. We got that awesome smile.
That's better, yeah. A little less forced. Yeah, I'm really bad at that, actually.
As you can tell, these are, daughter jokes, right?
Right.
All right. So, Alex, why don't we talk about Serendipity Lab? So, if you don't mind, Alex, can you describe for me what is Serendipity Lab?
Sure. Serendipity Labs is a co-working solution for basically companies of any size. They can be large enterprises or a smaller sort of mom and pop entrepreneurs. The Serendipity Labs provides a co-working solution or a flexible office space solution for those companies. So Serendipity Labs is an upscale flexible workplace solution for companies of all different sizes. We have small entrepreneurs up to large enterprise clients, and we basically focus on creating sort of these serendipitous interactions between people of different companies, people of different backgrounds, and we focus on their ability to come together, work together, and to thrive.
I'm good with it.
Okay.
All right. Let's move on. Let's keep moving. All right. So, Alex, when did you join Serendipity Lab?
I joined Serendipity Labs 3 years ago in April of 2018.
And at that time, when you joined Serendipity Labs, you were using Sage 50?
Yes. When I joined Serendipity Labs, we were using Sage 50. Probably not in its best capacity, but that was our former ERP system.
Right. Alex, can you describe for me what were some of the challenges that you encountered with Sage 50?
Some of the challenges that we encountered with Sage 50 were largely based on a few things. We were a growing company, so getting that software started, it was growing with the company. It was from very bare bones. Also, the ability to load information in and out of it, to sort of scale, everything was done very individually. It was just a lot more challenging at that time.
Great. From what I recall, you were using Sage 50 for about a decade, and it sounds to me like what you're describing is you were just outgrowing it. It just wasn't scaling to meet your changing business requirements. So I'll ask you the question again.
Sure.
Alex, can you describe for me what were the challenges that you were facing with Sage 50?
We had been using Sage 50 for almost a decade, and one of the biggest challenges was we were just outgrowing it. It was not suiting our needs. We were having a lot more difficulty loading information, extracting information, reporting, that sort of thing.
In your response here, there's some bit about the cloud and all that and wanting to get to a cloud. But
Okay.
Let's save that.
Okay, sure.
Let's talk about the manual processes and kind of time-consuming drudgery work, related to using Sage 50. And then also, I want to get into reporting out of Excel, but let's
Okay.
do that for a minute. So,
Sure.
I'll ask the question again. Alex, can you describe some of the challenges that you were encountering with Sage 50?
Shoot, sorry, I just
No,
lost it.
so,
Say that one more time.
doing manual.
Yes, thank you.
Everything was super manual.
Yes.
Reporting was super challenging because we had to dump the data out,
Right.
put it in Excel.
All true things. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. Alex, can you describe some of the challenges that you had with the manual processes related to Sage 50, not only for inputting data, but also for doing reporting?
Sure. Some of the major challenges with the manual processes surrounding Sage 50 or our use of Sage 50 were largely due to the fact that everything was done in the UI. We weren't able to extract or load data. Our reports were done one at a time. You weren't able to sort of create a batch of reports the way that you can today in Sage Intacct.
Is it multiple entities that you have?
Yes, Serendipity Labs manages about 20 entities.
Hold on to that for a second.
Okay.
Let's talk about reporting for each of the 20 entities.
Mm-hmm.
So, Alex, can you describe for me what the process was for reporting on each of Serendipity Labs' 20 entities?
Well, back when we were using Sage 50, we only had 7 entities, and the reporting process took considerably longer than it does for the 20 entities that we manage today. Basically, we'd extract everything out of Sage 50 into Excel, and then we would have an offline ability to go around looking for all of our statistical journals that were not housed in Sage 50, and basically consolidating multiple sources of information into an Excel report, and then we were able to disseminate those to our partners. It was just a very challenging and time-consuming process.
Alex, about how long did it take to do reporting out of Sage 50?
To complete our month-end reporting process for all of our franchise and joint venture partners, as well as the internal reporting that we did as well, it took approximately 3 days of just pure muscle on those reports for about 7 entities.
And let's see, any other challenges related to Sage 50 that we want to address?
I didn't use it for that long. It was set up under the old controller who went with Sage 50.
That's fine. You inherited something.
Yeah.
And shortly after you joined, you made a change.
Right.
Okay, great. So let's talk about, let me ask you, forget the cameras.
Yep.
Was there a moment, an incident, kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, where you said, hey, we can no longer continue to run the business on Sage 50?
I think it was, I'm trying to think about, it was sort of already in the works when I joined, and it was sort of my job to implement it.
Did you have any experience with Sage Intacct prior to Serendipity?
I hadn't. I hadn't had any. I'd come from much larger companies where they had all of their own ERP systems in house. So it was very new to move to a cloud-based solution, for sure.
Let's talk about, and I guess the decision was already made when you joined.
Correct.
Okay. So did you work with one of our implementation partners, or did you work with Sage Intacct to do the implementation?
We worked with Act2 to complete.
Let me ask you the question.
Yep.
Alex, can you describe the relationship, the partnership, your experience working with Act2?
Sure. Working with Act2 was really good. We had a very experienced implementer who was able to sort of walk us through that whole process of, bringing in all of our historicals and then setting up all the metadata appropriately to use Sage Intacct going forward.
And Alex, approximately how long did it take to complete the implementation?
The implementation from Sage 50 moving over to Sage Intacct was about 3 months.
And Alex, did you bring over historical data from Sage 50 into Sage Intacct?
We brought a large amount of historical data. I think we went back 2 years into Sage 50, and then obviously loaded all the year-end balances.
Alex, what you said, it took 2 or 3 months to complete? Okay. Alex, I'm assuming that, shortly after you completed the implementation, you recognized that you were able to streamline what used to be very manual processes. So, Alex, can you describe for me, how were you able to streamline, or what were some of the business processes you were able to streamline using Sage Intacct?
I think some of the larger business processes that we were able to streamline using Sage Intacct were just the loading of revenue, the loading of invoices. We basically using a lot of the import templates in order to load a large amount of data across multiple entities at the same time versus pulling things out one at a time to load them back in.
And Alex, can you describe for me what the advantages of having a cloud-based accounting system are to you and for Serendipity Labs?
I think one of the largest advantages of having a cloud-based solution is that you're able to access it from anywhere, and the support is much, much better. You're not having to manage something on an internal server or an external server. Everything's coming back through Intacct. Sage Intacct.
You want to try it again?
Yes.
Okay. Alex, can you describe for me what are the advantages of having a cloud-based accounting application
One of the biggest advantages of having a cloud-based, let me try it again.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. One of the advantages of having a cloud-based solution, ERP solution, is the fact that you can access it from anywhere, and there's a lot less that you have to do to maintain and support that server that you have in-house. I'm used to having the servers and server rooms from some of the larger companies that I've worked for in the past, and it's just such a big change to have everything in the cloud.
I'm assuming you don't need any IT support.
We really don't need any IT support at all. I don't even think our IT department has access to Sage Intacct.
Yeah, they probably don't. So, what are some of the advantages of having a cloud accounting application like Sage Intacct?
Did you already ask me that?
Sure. So let's talk about not needing IT support.
Okay.
IT involvement. Not having servers that you need to maintain.
Okay.
Alex, describe for me the advantages of having a cloud accounting system like Sage Intacct in terms of your reliance on IT and servers.
I think one of the largest advantages of having the cloud-based solution with Sage Intacct is the fact that the business is running it. It's not dependent on IT to have to come in and support us and to save us every time something goes wrong. We can really handle everything ourselves.
Perfect. Great. So, for some reason or another, I guess we talked about Sage Intacct over NetSuite. Does that ring a bell?
I don't remember.
Okay, yeah.
Because I don't know. It might have been NetSuite that Roger was going back and forth between, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, then that's a Roger thing, and we'll just skip past that. So,
Mm-hmm.
some of the other things we talked about with streamlining business processes is that, like you said, you've gone from 7 entities to 20, and intercompany transactions are so much easier. Sage Intacct automates all of your corporate level allocations for staff and for other expenses that span multiple locations. So you've grown from 7 to 20. You can do the intercompany transactions much easier, and that the corporate level allocations and other staff expenses that span multiple locations are done much easier.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you the question now. Alex, how have you been able to streamline business processes related to intercompany transactions, automating corporate level allocations across multiple locations?
Well, one of the biggest advantages of using Sage Intacct is that we've been able to grow from 7 to 20 entities with very, very little incremental work, if anything at all. One of the biggest things that we're able to do is we're able to take a centralized cost or a cost that we're allocating out to multiple entities, and we're able to spread it very easily, very quickly. And all the intercompany transactions are happening in the background. Very easy.
Excellent. And efficiencies around importing statistical data, key metrics, and other from other sources, using the system's powerful capabilities to improve management reporting and create opportunities for further analysis. So it's around the statistical data,
Mm-hmm.
and then being able to pull in data from a number of different sources. What you talked about previously was we had to go out and find that data and then manually bring it in, right?
Right.
So, Alex, can you describe for me how you've been able to streamline processes around bringing, let's call it disparate data, and then doing the statistical accounting?
Statistical
Data, sorry.
Okay. Statistical journal entries have been a lifesaver. We have a ton of different metrics that are pretty unique to our industry, and the ability to, on a monthly basis, pull from our other systems such as Salesforce or Office R&D, which are two of our other platforms, we're able to pull the information in and then actually be able to tie the financials to those statistical journals, and we're able to have those metrics.
Fantastic. As a result of having that data and those metrics, you're able to do more analytical work. Is that true?
The analytical work has really skyrocketed, probably in the last 6 months to a year. As we've added in additional statistical journal entries, we've started to capture additional data that we had never captured before, and it's really empowered us to have the ability to understand our business much more.
you answered the question, but let me ask the question, and then just go right through that again. So, Alex, can you talk to me about the type of analytical work you're able to do now?
We're able to pull in so much more information from multiple systems, Salesforce, Office R&D, and we're able to capture a lot of additional metrics that we weren't able to before, and able to really understand our business. It's been really pretty impactful, especially over the last probably 6 months to a year.
And as a result of being able to do that analytical work, like how have you been able to maybe inform decisions around maybe the growth or expansion of the business?
Decision making is happening so much faster now. We're able to pull information and to be able to say, okay, wait a minute, our price is going up, our price is going down. Are we doing the things that we said that we were going to do in much more real time than ever before?
By any chance, do you have an example of a decision that you influenced as a result of looking at all this data and doing the analysis?
Let me think off the top of my head, what's a good one?
You went from 7 to 20 entities.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm assuming that, you know, some of those, bringing on some of those either lines of business or revenue streams, whatever it might be, maybe those were as a result of some of the analysis that you were able to do?
Sorry, I need to think about this for a second. So bringing on the additional entities,
Analysis that you're able to do with Sage Intacct, how has that impacted the growth or expansion of the business?
I think that the analysis that we've been doing due to Sage Intacct is we've been able to look at trends a lot better, a lot faster, and a lot more accurately. That's allowing us to match our customers to the products and the customer demand to the products.
Love it. Okay. You've gone from 7 to 20 entities. Alex, can you talk to me about how easy it is to add a new entity in Sage Intacct?
Setting up a new entity in Sage Intacct takes a matter of minutes. I mean, everything comes over. All the charter of accounts go over, and you're able to sort of see across the entire business, all across the different entities. I was doing well there.
And then you went to the high level about all
Yeah.
of them. So,
Yeah. Just focus on one entity. So setting up one entity, everything comes over within a matter of minutes, and you're ready to go. I think that's really all I need to say. Okay, so let me try
I
again.
mean, I think I can take what you gave me previously, and we'll piece it together. So Sage Intacct is your core financial application, but you've done some integrations, right? So let's talk a little bit about that. So I think it was things like you talked about Salesforce. You talked about, I think it was called something desk.
Office R&D is not integrated.
Integrated. Okay, so it's Salesforce and it's BlueSnap for AR.
Yes, so we're using Armatic and BlueSnap. Yeah.
Let me ask the question then. Alex, can you discuss the integrations that you've done with Sage Intacct?
Yes, we implemented the advanced CRM integration between Salesforce and Sage Intacct, and subsequently, with that at the same time, we did an integration with Armatic and BlueSnap.
Can we kick it off with, we've done these, with Sage Intacct, we've integrated the following solutions.
Yep.
So, Alex, what are some of the applications that you've integrated to Sage Intacct?
With Sage Intacct, we've done the integration with Salesforce, also with Armatic, and with BlueSnap.
Are you using the advanced CRM?
Yes.
Okay, are you doing contracts?
We are.
Okay, good stuff.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah. Yes. Can you talk to me about how you are using the advanced CRM capabilities? Alex, can you talk to me about how you're using the advanced CRM module and how you're managing contracts?
Sure. We're using the advanced CRM module from Salesforce into Sage Intacct. We're able to take all of our contracts that originate in Salesforce and push them into Sage Intacct, where we have all of our customer subledger, so much more visibility than we had before with a tertiary billing system. We've been able to see a lot more of that continuation from the CRM into the ERP, which is allowing us to match a lot of our marketing metrics with our financials, which is incredible.
And again, this is just you have some complicated contracts?
We do. because we're a little bit weird in the sense that we pre-bill. So one of the things that we're actually here trying to figure out is billing templates. So our new contracts, we basically charge everybody a security retainer and then their first month, but we charge it now, and then they just don't pay it later, and we defer the revenue. But then our renewals, obviously you've already sort of made your deposit, so we just sort of, those are fluid. So we've got sort of some different configuration going on there.
Can you basically give that an example?
Sure.
Okay, so Alex, can you give me an example of the sort of contracts that you're dealing with?
Well, our contracts are a little bit different because we've got a big disparity between new contracts and renewals, right? So a new contract, a customer's coming in for an office space with us, and we've got to basically take their security retainer and that first month up front, whereas renewals are just fluid. And so it creates some disparities between how each one of those contracts is handled.
I think you talked about deferred revenue a little bit too.
I did.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure.
Okay. Alex, can you talk to me about how you manage deferred revenue using the contracts module?
Well, the best thing about the contracts module is the fact that it does all the deferred revenue automatically through managing the revenue schedules. Prior to using Sage Intacct, we were using a much more sort of basic billing system, and we would have to invoice on ahead of the revenue schedule, and then we'd have to manually defer all that revenue. With contracts, everything's happening automatically.
And is there any like time benefits, or as a result of automating the deferred revenue schedule?
I don't know about time benefits. It's just accuracy. I mean, we were having to manage a manual offline schedule, which is like one journal entry every month just to move everything. Well, it was like 3 because we sell things, for 1 month or 2 months out or 3 months out. So you'd have to have a January into February, January into March, January into April, right? So it wasn't killer, but it was just not as, it was sort of a kludgy process. I don't want to use the word kludgy, but
You automated what was a very manual
Right.
process.
Right.
Okay. Cool. I think we're good on the main CRM and
Okay.
yeah. So what about? Do we want to talk about automating your AR as a result of the integration with Sage Intacct and BlueSnap?
Sure.
Okay. Alex, can you describe for me how you've automated the AR process utilizing the integration between Sage Intacct and BlueSnap?
Well, the integration with Sage Intacct and Armatic, which is our AR solution, has been incredible because we were able to manage all of our customer communications within the Armatic solution. That's allowed people to pay a lot faster, to be reminded of when they need to pay, which has been a huge benefit to collections.
And I'm assuming you're getting paid quicker, like you just said. Yeah. Have you brought DSO down?
I haven't been looking at DSO specifically because the field really manages that.
No worries. Let's not go
I'm sure we did.
Yeah, if we were going to get into that, I'd want to be able to say,
Right.
we went from
Yeah.
180 days down to 90 or whatever.
We basically we just look at AR and we just beat them up, beat up the field teams until they get all their AR in.
Yeah. Are they actually going on site to the locations and like handing a bill to?
No, so it's most of the time the customers don't even really see their invoices unless they opt, if they go into Armatic. Like it's just sort of a recurring, just like you would pay your insurance bill, like it just happens.
Alex, can you talk to me about how you're utilizing Sage Intacct's dashboards?
Sure. Sage Intacct's dashboards have been a real benefit to our field teams, so actually the operations. So previously, Sage Intacct was really a finance tool, and we've pushed it out to our field operations using dashboards. So they're able to monitor their AR, they're able to monitor their inventory, so how many offices they've sold. That's really, really helped them have one place to manage all of their sort of financial impacted business. I want to say that again.
Yeah, there was also membership costs. So it was scorecards to monitor customer counts, inventory month over month, membership costs, meetings and event revenue, AR aging and POs.
Okay. Say that one more time.
Sure. So using the dashboards module, then the operations managers can monitor customer count, inventory month over month, membership costs, meetings and event revenue, AR aging, and POs.
AR aging, POs, yep. So
Okay.
inventory.
So,
Okay.
Alex, how are the operations managers utilizing the dashboards in Sage Intacct?
The operations managers are using Sage Intacct dashboards in order to monitor their month-over-month inventory. They're able to monitor their meetings and events revenue. They're able to look at their AR outstanding, which has been really helpful. I need to do that again. I'm sorry.
No worries. Yeah, I didn't remember.
It's a lot of things to remember.
It's fine. I mean, if you can only remember 3 of them.
Right.
That's perfect.
So let's do. I just need to focus on the ones that I think are the most impactful to are to monitor, to track their sales, monitor their inventory month over month.
Meaning like meetings and event revenue.
Meetings and event track their membership revenue, meetings and events revenue, inventory month over month, AR collections, and POs.
That's it.
Okay,
All right.
let's do it again.
Yep. Alex, how are the operations managers utilizing Sage Intacct dashboards?
The operations managers of all of our locations are utilizing the Sage Intacct dashboards in order to monitor their recurring revenue, monitor their meetings and events revenue, track their AR. They're also able to approve POs through a workflow, which has been really impactful.
You're good because you got the other stuff previously. So
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Yeah. So this question is, how does Sage Intacct help your leadership make better decisions? And I can, again, run through this.
Yep.
Insight, improvement, agility, hold on quickly. Nah, let's do that. So, leadership. Okay. Why don't we just focus on that one? Around, being able to quickly spin up reports for your leadership to look at the business in different ways. Okay, so Alex, how are you better supporting your leadership team?
The support for the leadership team has been a lot. Do it again. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
The support for the leadership team has been. Let me just think about what I want to say. The support for the leadership team has been drastically improved through the ability to spin up or to get a requirement, spin up a report, and evaluate it right away. Does that work?
Yeah, I mean, maybe, do you want to include, this is how we use the dimensions a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay.
I say this is how we use the dimensions a little bit. The dimensions we're largely using are location groups, which before it's all being mapped in Excel and now it's automated. What else? We don't use department that much, except for corporate.
It's probably a lot of location related.
It's a lot of location dimensions, regions, because we look at not only regions but location type, whether it's urban or suburban, and they all sort of act differently.
Okay.
So maybe we can look at a region to see how that region is performing, as well as a certain type of location, whether that's a suburban or downtown urban location, in order to see how their trends are differing between those different markets.
Sure. And that's something that someone on your leadership team might ask you for.
Right,
Okay.
right.
Great. So, Alex, how are you better able to support your leadership team using dimensions and Sage Intacct?
Using Sage Intacct's dimensions has been really helpful for the leadership team because we're able to look at the business in multiple different ways, especially with the location dimensions. We're able to roll up different market types. So whether it's an urban location or a suburban location or a secondary urban location, we're able to see how those different businesses are reacting, especially over the last year with the pandemic, right? It's been a very, very interesting time. We are also looking at region performance. So you've got one regional vice president that's overseeing a particular region, and we're able to evaluate how that performance is in each one of those regions, as well as the different market types.
has Sage Intacct transformed the financial functions at Serendipity Labs? And maybe this is more about the finance team as a whole,
Mm-hmm.
you know, moving away from, again, that treasury work to more an analytical work. So, one of the responses we typically get is morale is improved. People feel like they're doing important work and not just the manual work.
Mm-hmm.
So, Alex, how has Sage Intacct transformed the finance function at Serendipity Labs?
Sage Intacct has really improved the finance department in general. I mean, we're all sort of doing the things that we want to do versus just spending all the time manually throwing everything together. It's been really nice just because we're all moving, we're all progressing, we are all coming together for a common goal. It's just been really, really incredible.
Love it.
Awesome.
All right.
I knew we could nail a couple of these.
No. I think you nailed it. So we're all done with this, but
Okay.
there's a couple extra questions that
Sure.
thrown at the end. If someone from your peer group, right, someone at your career level was to ask you about Sage Intacct, how would you describe Sage Intacct?
Someone with my peer group, how would I describe Sage Intacct? I'd say...
Or someone from your network, maybe.
Right, and someone was making like a decision, sort of.
Maybe they're struggling with QuickBooks or Sage 50, and they're looking for a solution to help take them to the next level. Help them do all the things that you've been able to do. People typically talk about things like we've transformed, right?
Right.
We've Sage Intacct is scaled with our business.
Right. And I think the other thing is that Sage Intacct is also reacting to what the customers need and always coming out with new releases every quarter with different features that you can learn to adopt and infuse with your business.
Yeah. One thing that someone brought up earlier was that Sage Intacct, you can tell it was developed by accountants,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's not like things that we think you might need. These are real world, folks who have their CPAs and, understand the needs of an accounting team, right? So, things like transform, things like scale, things like I just said, it's a solution, like you just said, that's constantly evolving and
Yeah.
functionality, new capabilities, and that sort of thing. So.
Right. And so I think truthfully what I would say is that I would say that it's allowed us to transform, but I think it's about we're constantly creating additional efficiencies. We're constantly finding and creating efficiencies. And Sage is continuing to develop the product in order to always have us finding that next efficiency. I mean, is that a sort of good enough answer? I think it's good.
It's great. I mean, I want it to come from the heart. So.
Yeah, no, it's not packaged, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So, Alex, if somebody asked you to describe Sage Intacct, how would you describe Sage Intacct?
If one of my peers were to ask me about Sage Intacct, I'd probably say that the most important thing that Sage Intacct has done is allowed us to really transform our business, transform our visibility, and we're constantly finding additional efficiencies with every step. And Sage Intacct is right behind with new efficiency gains, new development in order for us to continually find those efficiencies.
And in maybe one or two words, adjectives, like what would be one or two words that you would use to describe Sage Intacct?
I would say I've used the word efficiency enough. I need to use something else. So I would say it's versatile. So it can be used across multiple types of businesses. And so I'd say it's versatile and it's powerful too. I mean, it is.
Perfect. Okay. So, Alex, in a few words, how would you describe Sage Intacct?
I'd say in a couple words, I'd say that Sage Intacct is both versatile and powerful. So you're able to adapt Sage Intacct to multiple different businesses, and it's become so central to our business and to lots of other businesses as well.
Great. Alex, is there anything that we didn't cover that you would like to mention?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think we hit the big
Is
points.
this the first time you've been to the conference?
Second.
Second, okay. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you've gotten or what you come away with, or
Well, the last time I came here, I came away with we're doing the advanced CRM integration and contracts, and we've done it. So we're there.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah. Alex, describe your experience coming to the Sage Intacct conference.
The Sage Intacct conference is really incredible. I came here 2 years ago, and I walked away with, we're doing the advanced CRM integration and contracts. And what's so great is coming back and having done that, and now we're just looking for more, right? It's what else can we do?
Perfect. Richard, you got anything else? Or?
No, I think you did really well pulling out the sound bites.
Yeah.
Awesome.